slide down to that. But here's what we were seeing. Mike is seeing some of this air that's wrapping in with a hook echo that is heading back from the southwest into Oklahoma City.
What are we seeing in terms of velocity?
Take a look at the velocities here. The velocities themselves are very strong, wrapping around like that. In terms of any kind of tornado circulation, there is a little bit of a tightened area in around here. Do I see any debris signature? There is some kind of a little low correlation coefficient there. Let me see what that looks like. It's hidden.
Not in the right place, though, huh?
It's kind of hidden in the midst of that big signature. And then if we go down to the Moore area.
They have issued a warning on this, Cleveland County.
Okay, now we have a brand new tornado warning on even better one of these eddy hook echo circulations, that one we've been talking about down around Moore. There,
wow,
it has.
Look at that.
There is what you call a tornado vortex signature. The little blue dot, that is very strong winds going eastbound. The yellow dot, that is stronger than the red going westbound. So right there, almost over Moore at this point, a tornado vortex signature. Do we have debris signature?
We do.
Yes, we certainly do. Unless that's a false alarm from the radar, we certainly have what appears to be a possible tornado going across Moore with possibly some damage taking place. That's what the radar would indicate. So tornado warnings now for Cleveland, Canadian, and Oklahoma counties in the Oklahoma City Moore metro area as this storm comes in with multiple circulation centers. The one near Moore, very evident on the radar. The one that is up near Oklahoma City is perhaps more embedded in the rain, but we do have a potential debris signature showing up in there.
We're going to go ahead and listen into the live coverage from KGRH. We're hearing about damage there in Oklahoma City. Let's listen in.
All right, Liz, thank you very much for that report. Again, we are getting reports out of Oklahoma City to the Skirvin Hotel.
Okay, all right, let's go back to what's happening here in Oklahoma. And again, evidence of a tornado possibly in a couple of places there in Oklahoma City. That cell to the south and Moore looking pretty impressive on the radar picture. So, folks, please take cover in Moore right now. And then you've got another circulation on the south side of Oklahoma City. Both of these working off towards the east. Dr. Greg?
And certainly, there's certainly a possibility of tornadoes in this location. The other possibility is that we're just getting quite a bit of damage because there's very strong winds associated with each of these surges that are pushing these little hook echoes eastbound.
Wow, look at that.
And the particularly strong circulation center that is now just off slightly to the south and east of Moore,
just east of 35
in the Canadian county, I guess that would be tornado warning.
That's Cleveland.
That's Cleveland County tornado warning. So well-defined circulation there. That's the one we've been following for quite some time. If you're ahead of that, you may see that one coming. Mike Seidel now is getting golf ball size hail. He is up in farther to the north, in north of Moore there in Oklahoma City. So tracking out the circulation there that is down near Moore, Clothier. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Franklin and Stella. And you see the times there in the upper right, the possible tornado circulation coming there in this Cleveland County storm. And then the farther to the north, slide it to the north if you could, Sarah.
Okay.
Mike Seidel up in Oklahoma City is getting now, you see he's getting right into the core of this darkest red or lavender colors, and that's the hail core. He's reporting golf ball size hail. And out of the leading edge of that, you see there are some circulations here where we're getting very strong convergence between the strong winds in green and some of these prevailing winds, warmer winds in red. So several places there where we could get tornado circulations, as well as big, broad, all these blue winds here could be strong, damaging winds, even if we do not have a tornado.
If we could go back to the high-resolution radar, I want to show this tremendous circulation that's showing up now just east of Moore. Look at that right there. That is almost certainly a tornado on the ground.
Certainly, this is a classic tornado vortex signature with the greens eastbound, the reds going westbound. I've circled the big picture, which would be the rotating wall cloud of the storm. And
the tornado warning has been canceled to the north now, so the tornado warning for Oklahoma City has been canceled.
Right at the moment now, I'm clicking on the wrong radar. Let me click the other radar. And we are not getting, at this particular instant in time, as well a defined debris signature as we had.
Take a look.
But we may be, sometimes the radar, now we, but one scan before, we certainly had that. So sometimes this can be transient, and sometimes there can be a bit of a time lag between what we get in terms of the wind and the normal way that we view the precipitation pattern of the storm and that debris signature component of the radar. But certainly at times here, and we continue to see what could be a possible tornado now south and east of the Moore, heading toward the general area, probably just to the south. The Twin Lakes, the National Weather Service radar there out of Oklahoma City is in Twin Lakes, going to head toward that area as it's heading east at around 35 miles per hour last time I checked the speed of movement.
And the population really does drop off as you get east of Moore, but it does look like we did have a tornado there in Moore, at least for a short time. We were seeing a very well-defined signature in the velocity. We are still seeing that, as a matter of fact. There's the normalized rotation, that's showing it as well, and we saw a very well-defined correlation coefficient indicating the likely presence of debris in the air for at least a time there as that storm crossed 35. So that may have in fact been a tornado right in the Moore area over the last, look at that.
I'm going back in time, and you see that it was a stronger, when it was yellow or if we had any red. Now the interesting thing about that is that it's not going straight east. Let me put a circle where the current circulation center appears to be, and then I'll step back 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes, when it was right over Moore, 15 minutes, 20, well, that's when it really started strengthening, was just to the west of Moore. So there, that particular feature has been going, in fact, tracking to the right. It's going more to the southeast, and so it may angle its way, if it continues that motion, may angle its way down into the south end of this tornado warning. Coming across the south side, the south half of the particular tornado warning. So there is where the most likely tornado is, although it seems to weaken just a slight bit since it's past the Moore area.
And I wonder if do we still have live pictures from Oklahoma City? Can we take a look at what's going on? Okay, we do not have any live pictures, so maybe we could just step back a little bit and take a broader view and see what's going on in general. So we've had a possible tornado there south of Oklahoma City in the Moore area, where of course we've had terrible tornadoes in the past, and most recently in 2011, and then of course before that in 1999, and a possible tornado tonight. We've still got tornado warnings now lined up. There's the tornado warning on that cell that has come through the Moore, Oklahoma area, Oklahoma area, and then you've got Oklahoma City showing up with a tremendous core there, Dr. Greg. Yeah. So very heavy rain and large hail now right over downtown Oklahoma City.
Yeah, absolutely. And these, of course, when the hail gets large enough, can be hundreds of millions of dollars of damage to vehicles, to broken windows. So even if it is only hail, and I think it's going to be wind-blown hail, there could be very well be 70-mile-per-hour winds, so the hail could be going laterally to break windows. This could be a very damaging storm across the Oklahoma City area. Would not, of course, be the first time that has happened, but we now do have a live shot there that we're seeing at the left, courtesy of KFOR TV in Oklahoma City. And
you know what's amazing? We were looking at Mike's shot a little while ago, and it was pitch black or nearly so. And look how much light is still in the sky out there. That shows you how tall these storms are and how full they are of rain and hail, and how that blocks out the sunlight. And really no evidence of any kind of a circulation there, but it sure does look like we got a tornado there and more in the south side of town.
Yeah, it does, and it certainly looks like, if you look carefully enough, you maybe can see a little bit of that grayish or brownish area that may be angling a little bit, which would be the tilted rain and hail and maybe some dust mixed in there that would be indicative of some pretty strong winds. Mike also mentioned the skies that turn green. What can happen is when you get a lot of rain and hail in between yourself and the sun is kind of at a low sun angle, the natural color of water is a little bit of a bluish tint. The natural color of the sun as you get towards sunset is a little bit yellow. So you combine the blue and the green, the blue and the yellow, and you get a bit of a green tint that usually indicates extremely heavy rain. Often it is hail, and I'm quite sure that Oklahoma City is getting both of those along with wind for bad measure at this time.
If you see a green sky, it's about to get really ugly.
Yeah.
This is apparently right over Moore now on the south side of town, and looks like there might be a little bit of a wall cloudish feature there. It's difficult to say.
Certainly some very fast motion from left to right in those whiter clouds there that suggests some pretty strong wind shear. Might be some wall cloud.
Really
certainly looks like some very strong winds that are kicking up dust there as well.
You can really see that dust. Oklahoma City is known for that sort of reddish dust that is easily kicked up, and in some cases is actually drawn up by tornadoes. So you see a white tornado, and the base of it will appear to be red as it's drawing in that dust. And in this case, as the wind comes down and kicks up the dust, you see that showing up right near the ground there. Still seeing what appear to be some little filaments coming out of the sky, but there is no evidence of what we believe was most likely a tornado that came right through Moore. We have Mike Seidel on the phone right now, and Mike, I understand you got really walloped by hail. What's going on right now?
Yes, we put the dish down because of the danger of the hail. We are getting hammered right now. We had golf ball sized hail. The hailstones are smaller now, but the winds have been unrelenting. They're sustained, I'd say, 30 to 40 miles an hour. We've gusted over 50 easily, and it's that horizontal lashing rain that you often see with severe thunderstorms or with a tropical storm or hurricane. That's the environment we've been in now for about 15 to 20 minutes. We've had some limbs come down on the tree that were near, just some small limbs, nothing major. But basically, it's lashing horizontal rain, still getting some pea-sized hail. But I tell you, when those golf ball-sized hailstones hit the roof of the vehicle, it's a very loud bang sound. It wasn't a lot of golf ball-sized hail, but again, the rain is just pouring out of the sky downtown. Visibility has come up a hair right now. We can see the skyline, so our visibility right now is just over half a mile in this severe thunderstorm.
Mike, thank you so much. Just amazing how the light has really recovered there in Oklahoma City. We want to take a look at some of the other warnings that are ongoing now. Dr. Gregg, got still a whole slew of tornado warnings east of Tulsa and along 44.
Indeed, in particular, the southern of the storms has had softball-sized hail on the southeast side of Tulsa. There were some 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts on the west side of Tulsa. That now is east of Tulsa, but a very well-defined hook echo, maybe even a debris ball showing up, although it does not have extremely tight velocities on that. But something very suspicious there. The southern one, Mays, Rogers, and Wagoner counties, with not just one but two circulations, one hook there. I'm very suspicious that there's a tornado in there. Could be followed by another. We're getting sort of a series of these circulations in this very unstable environment that had enough rotation to develop a possibility of tornadoes. So if you track that feature, Sarah is helping us there. Truteau and the Baloo areas, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is all east of Tulsa now with a possibility of tornadoes, and maybe something east of Broken Arrow following on the heels of that would go a little farther south into the areas north of Wagoner and north of Lost City. If we slide up the line just a little bit, there are tornado warnings on most all of these storms. Some of them had very well-defined circulations earlier. Mays and Rogers County, the circulation not as strong there. You see some hook forward there could have a tornado in that, as well as some strong damaging winds. And slide one more storm up then to the north, Sarah. And a tornado warning there for Delaware and Mays counties. And again, there are some of these little appendages that sort of surge their way forward that could be having the possibility of tornadoes in circulation, very much like the one that we've been seeing down around Moore, these little circulations on the leading edge of what is sort of a wide area of strong winds. Can we go to the high-definition radar from the Tulsa area, Sarah? It would be 19. And we'll take a look at this. Here is the radar at Tulsa. So that gray is the cone of silence where they don't get a signal. There is the little hook. I'm going to go back one time step here when we had a very well-defined, what might very well have been a debris ball. There's the big hook wrapping around. There is possibly a tornado. New Tulsa is here with some hail showing up. At this point, though, the velocities not showing extremely tight velocities, broad circulation with that, reds going this way, greens this way, so a broader circulation and not showing debris signature with that, but very, it's the kind of thing makes me very nervous seeing that kind of a feature. And obviously we do have a tornado warning for this area. heading toward the area near Maisie and near the Chouteau area.
Dr. Rick, we are hearing now that both sides of I-35 are closed in Moore, Oklahoma. Maybe we can go back to the radar there and see what's going on. Obviously, it's just heavy rain and wind and hail right now, but we can take a look back at what was almost certainly a tornado there in Moore, Oklahoma. There is still a tornado warning for areas that are well south and east of Moore. These are less populated, more rural areas, but it did look like a pronounced circulation came right across Moore, which is a town that unfortunately has been hit many times, a couple of times, by just devastating tornadoes within the last 16 years.
And there you see I-35, so that goes right through Moore, so and continues on right up into Oklahoma City. So we've had hail, we've had strong winds, we've had possible tornadoes in multiple places there. There could be widespread wind damage from the thunderstorm winds, damage from the hail, vehicles that could perhaps be stranded from the broken windshields, etc., and damage from the hail. We'll have to get further details on the nature of the closure of I-35.
And maybe we could just step back and take a look at the history here, take a look at what was happening in Moore, go to that high definition radar if we could, Sarah, and take a look at what it looked like as that was coming in. So that's when we saw this very well-defined circulation.
We saw that little hook-shaped circulation going forward when it was just west of Moore with a very strong velocities, the eastbound and the westbound velocities indicating possible debris showing up here. And then that continued across Moore and continued sliding down toward the south and east as we tracked it. Very well defined little hook there with very well defined circulation. And that is all crossing I-35 at that time.
And this tornado warning, they said, is going to be dropped and not reissued, I believe.
They're going to drop this tornado warning as we've been seeing some weakening.
But we have a new warning with the Tulsa complex up to the northeast.
But new warnings up in the Tulsa area, Cherokee, Mays, and Rogers County.
And we're going to have much more on this severe weather coming up in just a few minutes. Kim, Alex, over to you.
All right, thanks, guys. And we are joining you now live because of this severe event we are seeing here tonight. Right now, we are looking at Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was earlier this evening where a tornado was reported west of town, a large tornado that did damage even half-dollar-size hail. You could see the funnel, the tornado, especially north and west of those signs. And right now, we're getting reports of a tornado on the ground east of Tulsa.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get you now live there and show you how things are faring for us. There are the skies, certainly dark out there for us. And again, we're getting a report now of a tornado being confirmed on the ground east of Tulsa. We're not seeing it on this shot right now, but again, you want to make sure you are seeking shelter. Innermost portion of your home, if you're there in eastern sections of the Tulsa region. Again, very dangerous situation setting up for us here in East Tulsa.
Now let's take you live to Oklahoma City, where Mike Seidel has been there this evening, and we're looking now at from a helicopter view of the city, watching the storm as it's now moving east of Oklahoma City. Did move through, produced golf ball size hail, and as reported, a tornado here near the Moore, Oklahoma area as well. So as you can see, the storm's moving through. You still see the dark skies, and it sounds like they are not going to continue that tornado warning. But here's another view, I believe, out of Oklahoma City.
This is Springfield.
Springfield, okay.
Springfield, Missouri. So in southern portions of Missouri, we're also seeing some downpours and lightning strikes. You just saw that lightning strike there. So some heavy downpours to deal with here. And there are a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place there across the southern part of the state. Generally south of Springfield right now, but no doubt some heavy rain trying to make its way through the region.
And let's take a look now at the active radar. And boy, this line of storms extending from Springfield all the way to the southwest of Oklahoma City has produced large hail, even tornadoes, and very strong winds, and damage being reported, even flash flooding, where we have had, especially around the Tulsa area, over 3 inches of rainfall.
Meanwhile, we take you earlier from the Tulsa area, and again, it's been a hot zone here in Tulsa. And you can see, look at those clouds hanging very, very low. And again, this is again earlier in the Tulsa area. Thanks to Kip Jones for this video. Almost sounds like I can hear some sirens there. lowering in the clouds there, and it was a very dangerous situation here. Reports of a tornado rolling through the area earlier in Tulsa.
You can see that shelf cloud, that's for sure, and some very strong winds with that. And we're going to show you more video out of Tulsa as these storms came through, and you can see here, look at that. That's possibly a funnel cloud right there. You can see the rotation in that area. It's actually right above this home, it looks like. Very scary scene here. And you can see actually looks like some paper or some debris maybe flying around, or leaves flying around the trees. Really blowing here with this. So very interesting cloud formation here, possibly the funnel cloud here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's been an active evening for us here across the southern plains, no doubt. Been quiet so far, severe-wise, but we said it can happen very quickly, and it has happened today. Let's take it back to the lab now. We got storm specialists as well as Dr. Greg Forbes tracking all this active weather.
Yeah, and off to a very busy start after what has been a really quiet start to this year. Suddenly a flurry of tornadoes.
Yeah, we went through yesterday, March 24th. That was the longest we had gone in record in March without any tornadoes. We've had multiple reports now of tornadoes today. So the atmosphere, while not catching up, we were 80% below average for the year. It certainly has gone into spring mode. Still one tornado warning here in the areas east of the Tulsa area, and a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. And we've had reports of hail up to softball size on the southeast side of Tulsa. Winds that have been reported 80 miles per hour in places, and untold damage probably that we'll be getting many reports in out of the Oklahoma City Moore metro area.
Yeah, with supercell thunderstorms, you've got all modes, all types of threats, and this wind and hail can be enough to cause significant damage, let alone the tornadoes that we've been getting.
Indeed. Now here we're in the tornado warning. This is east of the Tulsa area. In fact, we're seeing there the spin around the Tulsa radar. So there's still a tornado warning in effect. Mainly for this little thing that I worry about being a debris ball. It's part of the hook echo that is wrapped around, and it's sort of gotten itself detached, and let's hope it's not orbiting too fast about itself there, but coming into the Pin Oak Acres area and just to the area just south of Snake Creek with a possibility of a tornado.
And Dr. Greg, we're looking at the same thing that we saw there in Oklahoma City. Skies turning black, a lot of lightning showing up. This is East Tulsa, and very difficult to make any features out, but obviously you see that the sky is very dark indeed as these supercell storms roll over the Tulsa metro area. As mentioned earlier, tremendously large hail showing up, softball size hail. That's enough to cause really significant damage to homes and to cars and businesses.
And when this hook was going across the Enola area, a train spotter has reported a tornado in that location. So at times this storm has had tornadoes reported with it in the areas near and then to the east of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Really remarkable the way that these storms have been able to hold on to their supercell characteristics, even though they've been together. They've been traveling as a group.
Yeah, indeed. Yesterday we had the storms so close together that the rain and the rain-cooled air from one to the south came in and interfered with the next one to the north, so we didn't get these long-lived rotations. Today, with bigger instability to start with, a little higher moisture content, and the storms separating a little bit more from each other until they began to turn into lines. We had a little bit more open, and even here we have more open inflow to what is the main storm. We have a big area here of inflow coming in that has probably not been rained into. So
there was reportedly a funnel halfway to the ground just west of Highway 69, which is what we're looking at right here, just east of this tornado report.
Okay, were we hearing Sarah on air there, a funnel report, Highway 69 area?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is right here, Highway 69 at 412.
Funnel reported.
Funnel reported. Okay. Maybe we could go back to Oklahoma City and see what's going on there and take a look at how things are. Yes, we don't have any pictures right now, but we can just show you what's going on with this tremendous core of storms that came through and likely, and wow, still wrapping up there now to well off to the east of Oklahoma City.
So there, the worst is over for Oklahoma City. There you see this big storm line that is pushed over east of Chandler and wrapped all the way down now into the areas south and east of Moore. It was still a pretty well-defined little I should say not so little, big hook that is down in that south end of the line there, heading toward the Shawnee area, coming toward an area where back in May 2010, Mike Bettis and I spotted a fairly big tornado from a storm that was heading in this same direction. So as Carl pointed out earlier, this is no strange area for tornadoes.
And Dr. Greg, these are new live pictures coming out of KGRH in Tulsa. We did see KJRH, excuse me. We did see that there was a tornado there west of Tulsa. We saw the video of the tornado. It was not terribly well defined because it was wrapped in rain, but it looks like there has been at least some minimal damage there. It's difficult to say whether there's any sort of significant damage there.
It looks to me as if those may have been big packages of big styrofoam sheets or something, some type of lightweight sheets that have been tossed around, had a big surface area and have been tossed around by the strong winds. May or may not have been a tornado.
So these news crews are obviously out looking for the damage to see, and if that's what they found so far, then that could be very encouraging news.
But I suspect they'll find worse than that.
Yeah, they could very well. We certainly did see a profound circulation there west of Tulsa, but again, live pictures showing you the damage in that area, and we've still got an ongoing tornado threat well off to the east of Tulsa. We'll have much more on this severe weather threat coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Welcome back as we continue to follow the severe storms rumbling across parts of the southern plains. We've been tracking this all late afternoon and evening, and we've had some damage out there. We've had confirmed tornadoes. It has been quite a mess.
It sure has. And, you know, Oklahoma City's been hit hard with large hail damaging winds. Tinker Air Force Base reporting a wind gust of 72 miles per hour. There are reports of wind damage. And again, hail the size of eggs and even the size of $50. And right now, we're looking at Sand Springs.
That's right, which is just west of Tulsa. This is from earlier today, and you can see sort of that brownish area there that is hanging low. That would be the tornado there, sort of kicking up a bit of that dust, and that's getting wrapped around the circulation of the tornado. So again, earlier today, just west of Tulsa, Sand Springs, you see that tornado there.
And Mike Seidel has been in Oklahoma City all day watching this event unfold, and he's joining us live now on the phone. And Mike, I heard reports that you had some large hail.
Yes, we had some golf ball size hail, Kim. In fact, we're going to feed the tape shortly. Actually, we're feeding it right now. I don't know if we can punch it up live on the Weather Channel, but yes, golf ball size hail, a lot of pea-sized hail. A few limbs down here in the parking lot. I'm actually looking out to the west now. I see blue sky, believe it or not, on the horizon. We're still getting some rain, but the wind now has almost gone dead calm. Still, there goes another flash of lightning here in downtown Oklahoma City. I did notice the airport, Kim, gusted to 52 miles an hour, and the temperature now down to 63, so it's dropped 21 degrees since the heat of the day, the warmest day they've had here in 5 months. So the worst is over with here in the downtown area, looking at the blue to the west with some rain shafts against the backdrop of the blue skies, the sunsets here in central Oklahoma. So, so far so good as far as this part of town, but as you know, we've heard of damage down in the part of town around Moore. There's the video we're feeding live right now on the Weather Channel. If we can take that fold, maybe you can see the hailstones down there. They are on the grass there. You can see them hitting the rain as the rain gets pushed from right to left. They're the hailstones. Some of those were golf ball size, some of those are marble size. But look at the rain. I mean, it's just coming in horizontally, and as those bigger hailstones hit the rainfall, it's just kerplunk. And there's the skyline, the lightning flashing. And we're only less than a half a mile. Look how dark it is. And the sun should be up right now. I mean, this is before sunrise. This is about half an hour ago. We took the worst of it for about 15 minutes, and we're inside the vehicle shooting out of the passenger window, lightning and hail and the rainfall here. So the line came through and did what we had expected, what Dr. Forbes and Carl Parker had told us, the hail, the wind, and the rain, lots of lightning flashes. But surprisingly, only a couple of close bolts in this area. But there you go. This is what we dealt with for a short period of time about 25, 30 minutes ago. Kim and Alex?
That's crazy, Mike, because it looks like midnight there. But, you know, I could tell that you guys kept power. Any reports of power outages around Oklahoma City?
Oh, I don't know. I've been too busy dealing with the storm. I can tell you downtown here, power is on, street lights are on, the traffic signals are working, and as you can see there in the video again, the lights are on the skyline there, and we're not far. We're only 4 or 5 blocks from the downtown area. So there's some of the golf ball size hail. See, there's 3 or 4 of those in the grassy area there between the sidewalk and the street as the storms pull away. And now I'm seeing the sun through the clouds. The sun still hasn't set here, and so that gives you an idea of how dark it was less than a half an hour ago, with the sun officially still up in the sky. And I'm seeing that now through the overcast and the rain shaft looking off to the west of downtown Oklahoma City.
Now, Mike, can you quickly talk about how quickly this all moved on through? I mean, earlier you were looking at sun, it was barely 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, and then all of a sudden, bam.
Yeah, it came in pretty quickly. I've seen it come in quicker. I've seen squall lines come in, like the one we had back in the fall back there along the Mississippi River, where it just rolls in and goes downhill within, you know, literally 25 or 30 seconds. This one did not come in that quick. But it did gradually build up, and then the rain just came in and, you know, and horizontally. And that's what you're looking at right now, the lightning, the hailstones there on the grass. So not as fast as I've seen squall lines come through where I've been, but it certainly went downhill fast. And yes, you're right, Alex. This afternoon, 84, sunny skies. We were on the air, and then by about 6 o'clock, 6:15 here in the Midwest in central Oklahoma Central Time, it just got dark as night. Now the sun coming through. We're going to have to get some video of this. This is a great shot right now, and we'll try to get this on the air to you shortly once we start. Wait a minute. What are we going to do here? We're going to turn. Okay, we're going to turn the camera on here. I believe you can see me. Can you see? Okay, we're trying to get the camera back up on the air so you can see the sun now coming through the rain shower. We'll get Mark over here, photographer. Please bear with us. This is breaking weather. Another good rain shower moving in. We're going to get the, can you get the picture back up, Mark, so we can show the sun? Get the picture back up on the air if you can. We're going to stop the feed here. Kim, Alex, Carl, Dr. Forbes. Here we go. I'm on the phone, but I think my microphone is still on. And is the picture back on?
We're not seeing it, Mike.
Okay, there we go. We're back outside. I'm on the phone.
There we go. We see you.
And
wow.
We can show the sunshine, show the sun setting. Now we're getting another driving rain shower as the sun sets. I was here on October 12th of 2012 down in the same area, just across the street, and we had a rainbow and a mammatus cloud. So we've had the mammatus clouds, we've had the squall line, the same.
Stay tuned for your Local on the 8s, brought to you by Duracell, trusted to outlast the storm.
You're watching Wild Weather at 8.
And welcome back to our continuing coverage of severe weather in the Central Plains. We've had tornadoes. We've had winds of 80 miles per hour, softball-size hail. Tulsa being hit by a tornado earlier. Tornado most likely on the south side of the Oklahoma City metro as well in Moore, a town that has been hit very hard by tornadoes in the last 16 years.
And several tornadoes reported also in northwest parts of Arkansas where they have had severe weather. We're not done yet tonight. It's probably going to be more of a hail threat, a lessening tornado threat, but the storms are likely, as we've been saying, to push into southern Illinois, western Kentucky, northwest Tennessee, and continue across northern and western Arkansas, maybe build their tail down into the Dallas area. So far, they're not pushed out of the Oklahoma region. We do have a brand new severe thunderstorm watch. The one that we have had goes until 10 p.m. for parts of Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. A brand new one that goes now and covers the east end of the my previous severe thunderstorm outlook that goes into tonight's time frame. And so that is for the possibility of hail damaging winds. That one goes until 2 a.m. for the red shaded area. And so the National Weather Service here filling in my previous forecast with watches.
And Dr. Greg, we want to take a look at some video. We have some new video coming out of Tulsa, Oklahoma of the damage from earlier. And we did get a tornado on the northwest side of town. I guess that's not coming up, so we'll get into this right now.
Still a broad picture there of severe thunderstorm warnings all the way from south central Missouri down into parts of Oklahoma.
Okay, so we are seeing now that a mobile home park has been very heavily damaged there in Oklahoma. And, you know, it's always surprising to see that there are mobile homes in a place like Oklahoma, but, you know, they certainly exist all over the country, and it's one of the least safe places you can be during a tornado.
Well, what we can hope here is that, like many, that these mobile home parks in the tornado-prone areas had a mobile home community shelter where they could seek shelter rather than actually people being in the mobile homes at the time the tornado hit.
And we are hearing that there's a search and rescue for one person that is trapped in that area, and looks like some pretty serious damage from that tornado west of Tulsa.
Yeah, indeed. We certainly have had some pretty strong signatures at times today in that Tulsa area, in northwest Arkansas, and even down in parts of Oklahoma, in parts of the Oklahoma City and more areas. So I'm thinking we're going to be seeing more and more reports of damage and video of the damage that comes in as we've had this you know, pretty fast evolving, pretty fast breaking weather situation this afternoon and evening.
All right, upsetting scene there west of Tulsa, but the threat is not over, and maybe we could go through some of these warnings that are ongoing there along I-44.
So here's the big picture. The yellow severe thunderstorm warnings, green now. There's been so many rounds of rain in southern Missouri that there are flash flood warnings in green, and then tornado warnings, the most recent one for Cherokee and Mays County in Oklahoma, and then severe thunderstorm warnings all the way down into central parts of Oklahoma. Here's the situation. Surges, little appendages, I won't call them hook echoes, but appendages. Sometimes there's shifting winds on the leading edge of those that can produce tornadoes. So Cherokee and Mays County, possibility of tornadoes in those around the Baloo, the Snake Creek areas as these storms are heading east at about the 40 miles per hour, maybe a little bit faster than 40 miles per hour. Tracking that out, Sarah helping us behind the scenes there. Mentioned Baloo, Snake Creek, Lowry, Oaks, and Chance areas with a possibility of a tornado. And even without a tornado, possibility of damaging wind gusts. You can see how this whole storm here beginning to take on sort of spiraling nature to it. So there could be embedded in there some pretty strong winds in any one of these little surge appendage areas.
This, you know, it really is remarkable. This is, in many respects, a linear convective system, and yet you've got these individual supercells that are retaining those characteristics.
Yeah, they're sort of supercells embedded in lines, and some places the gust fronts charge forward and get little circulations like this one that's here near Shawnee, Oklahoma now. Still severe thunderstorm warnings for Cleveland, Oklahoma, and Pottawatomie counties, and then all the way down farther into the Norman area.
And we should point out that Oklahoma City is done as far as the severe threat is concerned.
Yeah, it is past east of the passed off to their east now. They're in search and rescue, recovery, cleanup type modes. Severe thunderstorm warnings off to the north and west of Poplar Bluff in Missouri, and a lot of heavy rain that's falling in these areas. This is an area that is very prone to heavy rain and flooding.
All right, Dr. Greg, we are now looking at some live pictures of the damage from KFOR TV in Oklahoma City. So this is most likely, now we're back to looking at maps here, but that is most likely south of town near Moore, where we also are hearing that there were cars flipped on I-35, and I-35 is now closed.
Certainly no surprise there. We saw along this big heavy rain system that came into the Oklahoma City Moore area, the best circulation appeared to be along the leading edge of that rain down in the Moore area. So that would not surprise me at all if that's where the strongest damage is. It would also not surprise me if we had pretty widespread sporadic damage all the way across the Oklahoma City metro area. We know we had damaging type winds measured at the Tinker Air Force Base. So as this came in, I think a lot of places are going to have some damage.
So you had the circulation on the leading edge of this, and then you had this tremendous push of wind in the core itself. And this threat, again, not over with. We've still got tornado warnings now east of Tulsa, a whole big long string of severe thunderstorm warnings. Would you expect now that we're getting towards the end of the curve for the tornado warnings, we're going to be entering more of a severe thunderstorm mode at this point?
Yeah, I think we will be getting less of a tornado threat, but we might build this line down into Dallas before the night is over. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our severe coverage of this event in Oklahoma, where we've seen tornadoes, we've seen large hail, and we're looking live right now at Oklahoma City, where the worst is over with now. The storms blew through a little while ago, brought golf ball size hail. 70 to 75 mile-per-hour winds to Tinker Air Force Base. And now we're seeing the sunshine looking off to the west, now heading more towards the east and towards the north, I believe, as we're looking at some more storms in the area, and still seeing winds gusting over 40 miles an hour in the air. And there's that rainbow. As you can see, the sun in the west shining towards the east on these storms, and you can see the rainbow right there between those branches. So calming down in Oklahoma City finally here tonight.
That is certainly good news, but it has been a rough afternoon and evening across the southern plains. A place like Moore, Oklahoma, again being impacted by what appears to be another tornado.
Yeah, this is just crazy. Interstate 35 shut down around the Moore area. Cars flipped on 35. We're getting reports of large hail that has fallen in the area. Just a mess. So we are live with you through this severe weather event to make sure you are aware of the situation. We continue to see severe weather warnings, especially east of Oklahoma City now. Yeah,
that's right. So we're not done with it yet. We're still going to be rolling through the night dealing with this activity. Severe thunderstorm watch is still in effect. Parts of Missouri working their way even into western parts of Kentucky and into Tennessee as well. So we've got quite a bit of time to deal with some of these strong storms that could produce more large hail, as well as the potential for some damaging winds, and can't rule out still the threat for some isolated tornadoes.
And what we do know is there was a tornado in Tulsa, and reports of damage there, and possibly a gymnasium where children were in around Sand Springs here earlier this evening. So we're just now getting reports of the damage in the Tulsa area, and storms continue to move through eastern parts of Oklahoma and now even moving into Missouri.
That's right, and we want to head now to the ground in Springfield, Missouri. That's where our very own Keith Carson has been all afternoon. And Keith, the bulk of the nastiest of the storms seems to have been to your south, but walk us through how the day has progressed there for you with some of the storms that did move through.
Yeah, good evening, Alex and Kim. Yeah, we've been watching these storms. You know, the day started off really nice, actually. Temperatures in the 70s, a lot of sunshine, much like yesterday. We stayed to the north of the warm front here, which is a bit of a limiting factor for us. And by the way, let me establish why you're not seeing me right now. We're getting a lot of cloud to ground lightning, and we like to heed our own advice that we give you all the time, not be standing out there in the middle of a field when you get that lightning through. So we're seeing some heavy rain in through here. We're seeing some lightning, certainly. We haven't had the severe storms in about an hour, hour and a half as far as being boxed as severe storms. A lot of them have been on the elevated side. Look to the north of the front where we are right now, dew points are still in the upper 40s. And in a layman's terms, that's crisp air mass. It's also kind of raw out there. It's odd because you've got a severe weather outbreak ongoing, and it's relatively cool out there, that rain-cooled air stabilizing the atmosphere a bit. I think in the Springfield area, what we're going to be looking at here for the rest of the night, there will be lightning, there will be heavy rainfall, and flooding may become a concern. If you look to the south of Springfield there on the radar, you see a green box. That is a flash flood watch that's in effect because we're getting these systems training over the same spot over and over again. So we're not getting the rotation, luckily, here in southern parts of Missouri that we're getting across Oklahoma and northern parts of Arkansas, but we do still have some serious storms to contend with. There's some lightning popping in there into frame, and we're going to continue to see that through much of the night. So, you know, Kim, Alex, we're gonna watch these storms for you, obviously, and we're glad we're not seeing the rotation here, but still, people want to be not standing outside during all this lightning.
You said it now. You've been out there all afternoon and evening. The rain, is that coming down in a clip where you would say flooding would be a concern?
Yeah, you know, in Springfield itself, it hasn't been going on long enough for the flooding yet. But we did, you know, we had rain bad enough that from our truck here, we basically can't get the signal out. It froze because we call that rain fade. Obviously, anyone with a dish knows all about that. So we did have some pretty heavy rain there, and they are boxing spots to our southeast and also to our southwest for flash flooding, and it's simply because we're just training these systems over and over again. There's nothing necessarily special about these thunderstorms rainfall-wise, but if you get 4 or 5 of them in a row, then you could have some issues, and you can see those flash flood watches there again. East, southeast, also to the south and west. So without the rotation, the biggest things, these things are raining themselves out now as the night continues. So you got that lightning and the rain. So yeah, Alex, Kim, we're gonna watch that. Obviously, flash flooding. They're gonna put those boxes up as soon as you see that much training.
That's a good point. Thank you so much, Keith. We appreciate your reports here from southwestern Missouri. But now we want to get expert analysis on these storms.
Yeah, that's right. So let's take it back to the lab now. We've got storm specialist Carl Parker as well as severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes. Guys?
And we are transitioning right now mostly to severe thunderstorms, but there is still now a new tornado warning to tell you about.
Yeah, and this is the areas well to the east of the Tulsa area right now where we have had a tornado reported. We have severe thunderstorms all the way now from southeast Missouri down into southwest parts of Oklahoma with one tornado warned storm there well to the east of Tulsa that has had a report of a tornado near the Pegs area. So here it is. It is a situation where once again one of these hook echoes has jutted itself far enough out to the east that it's gotten ahead of any kind of rain-cooled air that was there. The tornado will be in that. Cherokee and Mays counties, you have the possibility of tornado. In fact, before the break there, we mentioned some of these communities, Ballou and Snake Creek, as having the possibility of tornado. So that is the threat area. We'll be heading up toward the Siloam Springs area, which will be moving it into I believe that is going to be southwest
Arkansas?
parts of northwest parts of Arkansas.
So, you know, I don't know if we could go over to the high definition radar real quick, but it looks like they're warning on both of these appendages coming from the same area here. If you look over there on your left, so right in here, in both cases,
yes, indeed they are now. In fact, but this is the location where the tornado was reported, and so the tornado from that one, if there still is, would be on the leading edge of this one. But there's another one of these that could have the similar kind of development of a tornado. So if I take a look at the velocities here, we'll see that there's some pretty strong northbound velocities that are showing up here. Then you get a little bit of a wind, same kind of deal. If we take a look at the rotations, and take a look at the coefficients, nothing that is overwhelming in terms of showing that the presence of the tornado, except that we did have this visual of a tornado here at this location and that would have been on the leading edge of this. So surges of rain, surges of wind coming through, and sometimes in the shifting winds on the leading edge of those, you can get the possibility of tornadoes.
Nothing overwhelming. That was certainly not the case with Moore, Oklahoma earlier, and in fact we've got some new video coming out of Moore, and this is a look from KFOR of the looks like some rescue vehicles there. These are aerials right now from moments ago over Moore, so I don't know if we're going to get a look at some of the damage there from overhead. Oh, those are power. Oh my gosh.
Looks like debris in the air there, so I think
this must have been when the tornado was coming through.
A bit earlier when the tornado and wind were coming through. We've also heard reports that the Moore Hospital is not accepting any patients.
Look at that.
We don't know exactly the details of why that is at the moment. We're looking to get into that kind of information.
Now, can I say, and tell me what you think about this, but it looks like this area where there are power flashes is very broad, so this probably has more to do with the straight line winds than the tornado itself.
I would think that would be the case, but embedded within there, there could be a tornado circulation.
Look at that, all over the place.
Look at this is pretty impressive. All these arcing that we hear take place. There looked like some dust had been raised at that just right there. In fact, that may be part of a little circulation, or could be a little what we call a gustnado that was in the shifting winds along the leading edge of one of these strong wind gusts.
Amazing, and you can actually see the sparks flying off of these towers here, and then these huge flashes. This, by the way, is something that you see quite a bit of when you're in a hurricane. You can see nearly. I saw that in Hurricane George.
Right
nearly
there,
constant
you saw
flashes.
some debris suddenly flying into the air as we go through this animation again. So, all sorts of power flashes. It's possible that some of these lights are vehicle lights that are going along, but I think most of them, like there for sure, is a big power flash
flying there.
That is probably arcing that's taking place. We could have some transformers that are blowing. Very, very active all across your screen there.
It's such
in terms of wind damage and/or tornado damage.
Yeah, it's got to be some combination of the two because it's just over a very, very large area. So, you know, widespread wind damage looks like they're across parts of the southern side of the Oklahoma City metro, along with most likely a tornado. We're going to continue to follow this severe weather. It's not over yet, folks. There are still tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll have the latest on this coming right up. Welcome back. back to our coverage of severe weather. This is video from earlier this evening of Moore, Oklahoma, as a tornado was overhead and very strong winds were coming in along with that tornado. So you see a large area of power flashes occurring. That is where telephone poles are being damaged essentially, and those power units on those poles are being broken apart by that strong wind, and you see these tremendous flashes as a result, and over a very large area. Now, when you see that in a rather confined area, you can often say that that might be a tornado that is concealed in the rain, but in this case it's happening over a very large area, so we think that it may be some combination of both tornado and strong straight line winds which spread all across the south side of the Oklahoma City metro, and in fact over most of the metro earlier today, Dr. Gregg.
And this is the kind of thing that the National Weather Service will be going out and doing damage surveys probably tomorrow to identify, was there a tornado and where, and then was there additional broader areas of, quote, thunderstorm wind damage that caused these various power flashes and whatever kind of damage that we'll be getting more and more reports in, I'm sure.
And we saw a really well-defined circulation there in Moore. Moore, by the way, is a town that has had a terrible time with tornadoes in the last 16 years. They had an awful tornado in 1999 and then again in 2011, and then some smaller tornadoes in the intervening years. So it's one of those spots that just happens to be in the path of some of the very worst storms a lot of times.
Indeed, it is an area that, like today, has a dry line. It separates out the Gulf of Mexico moisture from drier air that comes in from the southwest. And the thunderstorms, like they did today, tend to fire up along that and then march right into the area, often with rotation enough that they can produce tornadoes. So it is a favored spot. March is not the prime time, though, for this area. May is the prime month for this portion of central Oklahoma. And
we had a very slow start to a tornado season this year, but off with a bang here in the last couple of days. Yep. And a lot of tornadoes today, it appears, but that tornado threat also now appears to be winding down more in favor of a hail and wind threat going forward.
And if there still is a tornado threat, it does not look like the kind of threat that would be a long-lived, huge, wide, intense tornado, but rather probably some short-lived, we hope. You can never say never, but the features we're getting are more sort of like wind shift line shears that can give you typically briefer tornadoes. Severe thunderstorm warnings now all the way into, working their way across the Missouri-Illinois border into south portions of Illinois, across southeast and south central parts of Missouri, and then still the lone tornado warning, Adair, Cherokee, and Delaware counties, that there has been a tornado in this general area from, there are two little line segments that you see here. At times there's been circulations along the leading edge of those, and they can come and go pretty quickly. Within a matter of 5 minutes, you can go from nothing to having a tornado circulation. So sort of tracking those out, sort of toward the Kansas, Oklahoma area just after 8 o'clock. Siloam Springs, the Gallatin areas as this moves east at generally around 40, a little over 40 miles per hour.
Now, when they're close together like this, so you've got inflow that's coming into this first notch here, wouldn't this area where the cooler air is coming in behind, wouldn't that tend to disrupt that second notch there?
You would think so, and you would think if there was going to be a tornado in the second notch, it might be down near the edge or just slightly to the south of the path taken by the one ahead of that. But there's never 100% guarantees in these kind of situations, but I would indeed expect that, yeah. Here is the high-definition radar showing these pair of circulations, and we'll take a look at the velocities. The raw velocities are showing not extreme velocities, not the kind of velocities we saw coming into the Oklahoma City area. The storm relative velocities, though, do show very well that we have up here near the Oaks area still a strong inflow to the storm there. Probably this is going to be a broader area here, maybe a little bit of a secondary inflow coming in here, but there are some wind shifts that are showing up, especially this one that is giving the possibility of a tornado. But earlier, this tornado was in the area just on the leading edge of the first of these two little line segments coming across northeast Oklahoma.
So the tornado likes to sit in that little notch right there, and there's actually an area where there's not much weather going on, and chasers refer to that as the bear's cage, where it's sort of deceptively quiet before a tornado comes.
Yeah, and if we had, if this were to wrap its way around more than it is right now, and so that you would get trapped in that little area. That would be sort of the classic of what the chasers would call the bear cage, that you were sort of surrounded by very heavy rain and hail with perhaps a tornado right in the middle. Of that. So a bounded weak echo region. You're in the weak return area surrounded by storm that had sort of closed itself off with possibly a tornado in the middle.
And so we've got an ongoing severe storm threat and also now flash flood threat with these storms training, as we say, running over the same areas.
Yeah, southern Missouri, it was, they were having hail and storms in the morning hours. They continue to have that with flash flood warnings off to the areas east of and south and east of Springfield, Douglas, Texas, Wright counties included, and then heading down into the area around Branson and the West Plains area. And it's certainly not done yet. Certainly not out of the possibility of some more hail or damaging winds there either.
All right, live pictures of Oklahoma City. A very scary night tonight. A likely tornado on the south side of the metro. Much more on severe weather coming right up. And welcome back to our coverage of severe weather. A very scary night tonight. Tornadoes in Tulsa, likely south of Oklahoma City as well. A lot of reports of very large hail, as large as softball size, 80-mile-per-hour wind, widespread wind, as a matter of fact, in the Oklahoma City metro area. And those storms are rolling on. Now, the tornado threat is coming down, but there is an ongoing severe threat. And boy, a lot of reports of severe weather today, Dr. Gray.
Yeah, once again, a lot of hail. Some of these are wind reports in blue as well. The red ones are tornado reports. So 112 reports, 92 of those hail, and some wind damage reports. At least 5 tornadoes. My guess is we'll have at least 10 tornadoes by the time the National Weather Service goes out and surveys some of the damage. The busiest day of tornadoes we've had since January 4th in 2015.
Isn't that something? And so the severe thunderstorm watches are still up. They'll be up for the rest of this evening. We do expect the threat to come down, but it's not going to be over later tonight.
And even though that these are severe thunderstorm watches, as we've seen, you can get tornadoes within those. But as you say, it does look as if probably the tornado threat will diminish somewhat, maybe not quite to zero. Certainly lots of lightning. And our computer models had been predicting this, that ultimately it would congeal into a big line of embedded storms that would march its way across southeast Missouri into southern Illinois and western parts of Kentucky, as well as build a line that may very well build itself down into at least the suburbs of Dallas before the night is over, maybe in the time frame around a little after midnight.
And it's, you know, it's been very warm and very humid across a lot of Texas. People might wonder, well, why aren't we getting the storms down here? And that's because there's a little bit of warm air loft down there.
There's a little bit of warm air loft, and probably some of the best upper air forcing was where we've seen the storms. So you had warmer air loft that inhibited the storms, and the triggering, the lifting to remove that cap was farther to the north. But that's added. There is a cold front going to charge into the area. It could break the cap farther south so far than it has. There is one lone storm in central Texas, but for the most part, they've stayed in Oklahoma. Still a tornado warning. 2 line segments coming across here. The leading one has had a tornado on that. Adair, Cherokee, Delaware counties in northeast Oklahoma, about ready to move into northwest Arkansas with a possibility of a tornado. Not a real extremely strong possibility, but that is going to be coming up to the Chewy, the Weddington area, the West Siloam Springs, the Weddington and Siloam Springs area will be over into Arkansas. So, and that area north of Fayetteville is an area where we had tornadoes reported earlier. In fact, the first of the strongly rotating storms was in that area, then into the Tulsa area, and then back into the area near near Oklahoma City in near the Moore area.
And there's a look at the high-resolution radar. We're still seeing these little kinks, these appendages where you can have a tornado developing.
We are, and what we also are still seeing are some of these storms still have some pretty impressive hail cores, these lavender cores that show up. The places like this where you get a little bit of enhanced circulation, sometimes those are flanking storms that are developing. They might get a little bit more inflow there. There's a little bit of rotation showing up in there, the northbound and the reds southwestbound. So at times, especially if you get a new storm forming on the flanks of the existing one in these kind of lines, you can get enough concentration to, sort of like the skater, take the ambient shifting winds and concentrate it into a tornado rotation.
And what else do we have going on a little farther off to the north there? So we've got a lot of heavy rain. We've got training of cells. We've got cells that are running over the same areas over and over again. And as a result, a flash flood threat now added to the list of threats.
And little line segments here that could give damaging winds, and especially can never totally rule out a tornado from these. These may be a little bit elevated, slide it a little bit to the east there, Sarah, and show that we now have storms that are about ready to march over toward the Carbondale, Illinois area. So we're getting new states now involved. The Illinois, southern Illinois and western Kentucky, before the night is over, are going to have these threats for hail and damaging winds, and probably a pretty low tornado threat. But just to the north of Cape Girardeau right now and up toward Carbondale, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning.
And we could potentially be looking at more severe storms tomorrow, though not nearly as widespread an area, right?
Yeah, there is some threat. It would be mostly parts of Maryland, parts of Virginia, parts of eastern, I think, North Carolina. A spotty damaging wind gust. You never can totally rule out a tornado, but there is some fairly strong low-level winds. This whole weather system, this whole frontal system is going to begin to accelerate eastbound. Might even be thunder up into New York City areas, places that have had snow not too long ago. We're getting a return to more typical late March type of pattern. It's
sort of a favored area there in the mid-Atlantic region to get severe weather, so we'll be watching that tomorrow.
Still severe warnings along I-40 east of Oklahoma City, down I-35 south of Oklahoma City, and down now into the Lawton, Oklahoma area. And this line, as I say, may build a tail down into north central parts of Texas, maybe even including the Dallas area before the night is over.
All right, and another warning there now south of Oklahoma City. So the threat is over in Oklahoma City. That front has come through. Temperatures are dropping, and that's that for severe storms.
Yes. Yeah, once this existing line goes through, I think we'll not see any more severe storms. We're getting a cold front will come in and merge with this dry line, and you'll be too cool and too dry for storms in farther west in Texas and Oklahoma.
All right, Dr. Greg Forbes, thank you so much for your expertise tonight, and let's turn it over now to Julie Martin. Julie?
All right, guys, thank you so much for that excellent coverage. We are continuing our special coverage here live on the Weather Channel. We're interrupting our regular programming to bring you the very latest in terms of those watches and warnings. Obviously, a very busy night in terms of severe weather. We have seen at least 5 reported tornadoes, more than 100 severe weather reports. Dr. Forbes and Carl have been bringing this to you live for a couple of hours now. We want to take you now a live picture of Oklahoma City, and this was one of the areas we saw go completely black tonight. Mike Seidel, situated in Oklahoma City. We saw it go black before the sun went down. Also, golf ball-sized hail reported there in Oklahoma City. And then we also have live pictures from Tulsa and also outside of Tulsa. All of these locations, areas where we have seen either severe weather or possible tornado reports. Certainly a lot of damage being reported out of Moore, Oklahoma as well at this hour as we speak. We do want to show you some video right now we've gotten in. This is from earlier this evening in East Tulsa. Oh, we've got one more picture for you. This is outside of Tulsa. Yes, outside of Tulsa. And we have seen, obviously, a lot of damage in many of these areas. Here's some video we're getting in now. This is from East Tulsa. We did see earlier this evening, or we're still on the live picture. I'm sorry about that. We're okay, we're in the video now from East Tulsa. A funnel cloud being reported there earlier this evening, Carl. We saw it live here on the Weather Channel, and this was really just one of several reports throughout the evening. We know that there has been some extensive damage in and around Moore, Oklahoma, and Sand Springs, I believe it is.
That's right, and also there in West Tulsa. So this was taken earlier this evening, and it is a little difficult to see early on there. This storm was rain-wrapped, as we say. There was a lot of very heavy rain at the time, but if you look just to the left of those signs there, you'll see that there's some darker cloud, and then it's a little bit lighter on the left. So that is the tornado right there. Now, this is a really good example, really good illustration of why it is that it's not a good idea idea to go outside and try to figure out if you can actually see the tornado, because you may not be able to see it in some cases. And if a storm like that is right on you, it may not be very visible at all. But that was the tornado in Tulsa that did cause a lot of damage. You can see how clear it was just off to the west there. And we also got a fair amount of damage across Oklahoma City as well, and that was due largely to very strong winds. So most of what we have seen today has been large hail. A lot of reports of large hail, and in fact, here are the reports extending from Oklahoma and all the way up into southwestern Missouri. And now over 100 reports, 114 reports, 94 hail reports right now. And then we've got thunderstorm wind damage as well being reported, several cases of that. 5 tornado reports. Notice that they are clustered across northeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas. Will not be at all surprising to see that we get a tornado report there south of Oklahoma City. We saw a very well-defined rotational signature, and we saw the thing that Doppler radar can do is it can show you where there is debris in the air, and we saw that very clearly there south of Oklahoma City.
We know sections of I-35 were shut down.
Yes.
We have reports of flipped vehicles on the interstate as well. So obviously a very powerful series of storms coming through the area.
Yeah, and it's amazing that that area gets hit so frequently. Amore was hit so badly in 1999 and in 2013, but then there have also been storms in the intervening years that have hit that area as well. It's just one of those spots that tends to really get hit hard.
Absolutely.
So right now, severe thunderstorm watches extend from Oklahoma through northern Arkansas and right up towards the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. Most of what we are going to see going forward is going to be severe thunderstorms, which is not to say that we won't get some tornadoes. That's still possible, but the tornado threat is going to be coming down in favor more of a severe wind threat, maybe some hail certainly, and also very heavy rain as thunderstorms move over the same areas again and again, and the lines themselves only drop to the south very slowly.
And I mean, look at all of the lightning showing up right now on the radar. So it's not just the tornadic threat, but we're talking about lightning, straight line winds, obviously power outages. We saw earlier tonight those power flashes, I believe, in the Oklahoma City area.
Right. Oh, tremendous power flashes. And hopefully we can get that video for you before very long. It's really unbelievable video of the power flashes there. We'll take a look at some of the warnings now. Cleveland, McLean under severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going until 8:15. So the front is through. The winds have turned around to the northwest in Oklahoma City. That means the threat for severe weather is over. It's going to be driving farther to the south and farther to the east. These cells moving east now about 30 miles per hour and certainly capable of producing damaging wind and large hail and a lot of heavy rain. Also severe thunderstorm warning there for McIntosh, Okfuskee, and Okmulgee counties. That's going until 8:45. Again, the threat is wind and hail. We've got some flash flood warnings off to the north there, and you see these boxes, these outlined areas. That's where you've got the flash flood warnings right up through the Tulsa metro. So even as all this is winding down in a lot of these metros, the lingering rain will be causing some more problems here.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, I mean, we have seen winds as high as 75, 80 miles per hour out of these systems, and also 2-inch hail reported, more than 2-inch, even egg-size hail. So we're talking about damage, probably extensive damage to vehicles and property as well.
Yeah, there was actually a report of a softball-size hail that was west of Tulsa. That's pretty amazing when you think about 4 1/4-inch hail. There's a tornado warning to tell you about, and notice the appendage that's coming down from this cell. So the tornado like to sit right in there. That's where you're going to see the shear right in that area, and so that's where we've got a possible tornado there. Adair, Benton, Washington counties, that going until 8:30.
Carl, I was just getting a report here on the Weather Service chat. Tornado on the ground 10 miles southwest of Siloam Springs. So I believe that's this particular storm. See if I can. There it is. There's Siloam Springs.
Siloam Springs.
Siloam Springs.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the high resolution radar and see what we can see there. So looking at the velocity mode here, actually yes, that would make sense. So this you're saying just to the west of Siloam Springs. So we are seeing some rotation right in there. We're seeing a little bit of a rotational signature right there. It's not the most pronounced one, but there is one there. Checking for some debris. It's really ambiguous. Difficult to say that we're seeing seeing any particular debris, but it's going to be right in that little area, that little kink right in there. So heads up there in Siloam Springs, possible tornado coming your way. And I also want to show you this video from earlier today from Oklahoma City, and really just remarkable, Julie, to see the breadth of the power flashes. It was not in a really localized area as we often see with tornadoes, but rather it was over a very large area of ground, indicating wind all over the place.
All over the place, and you just saw those flashes pop, 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 and I mean one after another. So it would be interesting to find out what the power situation is like right now in Oklahoma City. I would think not good.
I'm sure, yeah, and I'm sure you're talking about widespread, at least minimal wind damage there. I mean, it's just incredible. You see that going off and over a very, very large area. In each of those cases, those are those power poles that are being damaged by strong wind, and you know, it's not, again, not just in a confined area, which is what you would expect to see with a tornado. So this is really, at least in addition to the tornado, about the very wide area of straight line winds coming through the southern part of Oklahoma.
What's interesting is Mike Seidel was there, and we saw that the lights were, the street lights were flickering where he was, but we saw it literally go from daylight to blackness, all within a matter of minutes.
Unbelievable, the change in coloring in the sky there within a very short period of time. The severe threat ongoing, and we'll have much more on that coming up in a few minutes.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel. We are continuing our live coverage now of this severe weather outbreak, and we are interrupting our regular programming to bring this to you. Already at least 5 reported tornadoes. We have more than 100 severe weather reports out of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Right now you're taking a live look at South Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm sorry. East Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've had a reported tornado west of Tulsa at this point. Certainly not out of the question as the storm holds together that we could be seeing more damage out of this same cell coming through. Taking a look now earlier, this is Moore, Oklahoma, and this video coming in from KFOR. You can see all the power flashes there. Pretty incredible situation unfolding with these transformers just blowing there, and the sky literally blackening within minutes.
Yeah, you know, this is really interesting because it reminds me of what I've seen in hurricanes, where you've got transformers blowing up over a very large area, over a very wide area. So when we see this, and we do often see this with tornadoes, and it's in a more confined area, that's something that you would expect. In this case, you see it over a huge area, and that it seems to indicate that you've got a large straight line wind, perhaps in addition to a tornado, though we don't obviously see a tornado here, but we do see a lot of strong wind dropping through this area, and as a result, those power flashes occurring. So it was a very scary afternoon, and take a look at the cloud there showing up from these aerial views.
Yeah, some of these winds reported 75 to 80 miles per hour. We've had reports of anywhere from 2-inch hail to softball-sized hail in some of these areas. So you've got to imagine the damage there to property, to vehicles, and we did see that damage also coming out of near Moore, Oklahoma, of that mobile home community that was significantly damaged in this storm, and I believe they were still searching for someone who may be trapped in that mobile home community.
Yeah, very difficult to hear, and that's a town that has been hit so hard. In 2013, they got a devastating tornado, and then in 1999, they got a devastating tornado. It's one of those places where they tend to get a lot of tornadoes, and they had some in the years in between. We want to take a look at what's going on right now on the radar picture, and there you see that there is a severe warning for Okmulgee and Tulsa and Waggoner counties. So this is now just south of Tulsa, where we're concerned about damaging wind and large hail. And you see the green boxes there, that's showing you where there are ongoing flash flood warnings. So that's going to be an ongoing threat as well. Very heavy rain coming down and across this region. And then also we've got the tornado warning off to the east there in Fayetteville. We apparently had a tornado near Siloam Springs in Fayetteville. Looking at the velocity data, not a real obvious rotational signature right now, but certainly these cells have been producing tornadoes for a pretty long period of time. So that is going to exist right up there near this appendage right there where you've got this little bit of a kink going on. That's where you can get these circulations developing, and that is certainly the concern But again, looking at the rotational signatures, that's just not really profound right now. That doesn't mean that we can't have a tornado at this time. It just means it's not showing up all that well right now.
So the people who live in Fayetteville, Town and Salem Springs, obviously Westville, you're going to want to take cover now because this could certainly still produce a tornado.
Certainly could. Now, the one good thing I can tell you is that the tornado threat is going to be diminishing, generally speaking. It's going to be coming down over the next couple of hours here. It's going to be more of a flash flood threat along with wind and hail. There you see a live picture of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the threat for you is essentially over at this time, apart from lingering lightning, obviously, and then you've got very heavy rain that's still coming down, and again, those flash flood warnings across the Tulsa metro.
And that's when you want to watch out for the falling trees, also the down power lines, and people a lot of times after a storm passes through get out and they do try to clean up and they do try to pick up their property, and that's when a lot of people end up getting hurt.
Now, you know, and that's interesting that you say that because actually there can be a burst of lightning after a thunderstorm has passed, and that of course is when, as you say, a lot of people want to go outside and see what's going on. But lightning can be a really significant threat even when it appears that the threat is beginning to come down. So that's something.
We've seen a tremendous amount of lightning showing up all evening long on the radar with these this line of storms marching across this area.
Right, and as you say that, there is all that lightning that's showing up. This line slowly sagging off towards the south here, so you've got this big axis that's like this, and storms rolling along that, but it's only slowly dropping down towards the south. That's where the flash flood threat is coming from, and you've got this ongoing lightning. Look at that. Look at all the lightning over there into northern parts of Arkansas. Around Tulsa, 237 strikes. I believe that's in the last 15 minutes. Look at that. 1,000 strikes in the last 15 minutes there. So highly electrical storms now right along that Arkansas and Missouri state line and rolling off towards the east. In Oklahoma City, again, cooler air is now coming in, so things are improving pretty dramatically. Got some lingering lightning there, but it's certainly not nearly the threat that we saw earlier today.
And you know, we've gotten some video in out of the Moore, Oklahoma area where we did see some damage to a mobile home park. We also know that portions of I-35 were closed in each direction, and we have seen images of cars flipped over. So, you know, with it being dark out right now, it's always sort of a wait and see in terms of damage and just what has taken place as these storms rush through very quickly.
Yeah, and you know, thinking about all those power flashes, all those transformers, that certainly means that live wires are down.
Yes.
And at night now, so that's very dangerous. Here, if you haven't seen this one more time, this is a look at the aerials shot by KFOR, the station there in Oklahoma City, of the widespread power flashes occurring with perhaps a tornado. You see the sparks flying off there. Isn't that amazing?
You do.
Perhaps a tornado here, but also certainly straight line winds because it's happening over such a wide area there in southern Oklahoma City.
And we have definitely seen a lot of these storms with rotation throughout the evening. I know you and Dr. Forbes have been tracking this now for a couple of hours. We know of at least 5 reported tornadoes. Dr. Forbes saying likely 10 or more. Welcome back as we continue our special coverage of this severe weather outbreak impacting Oklahoma, Missouri. We have right now at least 5 reported tornadoes, possibly more than 100 severe weather reports. And we know that there has been damage in a couple of areas, including near Moore, Oklahoma. Let's listen in.
It blew the whole top off of the house while we were in it with my 4-year-old grandbaby. My whole family lives in here, and everybody is affected by it.
Up from the bathtub to the ceiling 3 times, man.
There's people in here with cancer.
Everybody.
And that was coming west of Tulsa in the Sand Springs area, where we know a mobile home community was very heavily damaged. And we did hear reports earlier this evening of at least 1 person being trapped, and there were search and rescue efforts ongoing there as well. But widespread damage in many areas. We still have an active tornado warning, though conditions are starting to die down a bit. We want to take you out to that warning right now. This remains in effect now for northwestern Washington and southwestern Benton counties in northwestern Arkansas, also Adair County in Oklahoma. This goes for about another 10 minutes or so. Now, this storm located about 6 miles northwest of Westville. It's moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. So if you live in any of these areas, including in the Fayetteville area, you do want to take cover now, as again, this storm is racing along, one of many, just a line of storms that has been marching all across this area this evening. We have seen just numerous reports of damage and power outages. Mike Seidel has been stationed for us all day long in Oklahoma City, which we saw earlier this evening. Mike, your live shot go from daylight to darkness all within a matter of minutes.
Yes, we've had it all down here. It's now thankfully off to our east. We've got that chilly northerly wind coming in. Temperatures by tomorrow morning will drop from the 80s this afternoon into the low 40s, and tomorrow will be about 20 degrees colder. Yes, it turned dark very quickly, and keep in mind, this was about an hour and a half before sundown, and it got dark as night, even maybe some would say darker. We had the wind, the rain, wind gusts between 50 and 60 miles an hour, right where I'm standing, golf ball sized hail. Before that, we had mammatus clouds. Then on the back end, we had a rainbow and more mammatus clouds. So it was certainly an atmospheric journey today. And amazingly so, I was right across the street here back on October 12th of 2012, and I had the same kind of sky issues. We had the shelf cloud. We also had back then the rainbow, the mammatus clouds. So it's like everything repeated itself today here in Oklahoma City. Fortunately, downtown, the power's on. We didn't have the issues that they've had down I-35 and more. But the bottom line in more, this is not the situation we had in '99, 2003, and a couple of years ago. This is a much weaker reported tornado. No reports of widespread damage. We've had power poles down, cars flipped, a truck flipped. I-35 last check was shut down in both directions. So we're going to go out there and find out what the situation is, but this is nothing like the experience we went through just 2 years ago, and then back in '03 and '99 when they had the F5, the EF5, and then another EF5 a couple of years ago. So Julie, tonight things have calmed down around Oklahoma City, but we will have, again, the chillier winds tonight. The atmosphere is stabilized. Everything is now off to the east of here. But quite a wild scene. It got very dark, and we had the worst of it for about 30 minutes. Yeah. And then as quickly as it moved in, it moved down. We had a beautiful sunset, and it's like they turned the lights back on, and then we had the rainbow. Julie?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy scene. And Mike, I know you had to go off of the air for a time, and when you came back, you showed us some pretty incredible video of hail that had fallen from the sky as well. How big would you say that hail was in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, the biggest hailstones we had out here were golf ball size. Now, they weren't covering the entire ground. They were here and there as far as the golf ball size. Most of the hailstones were pea to marble size, but when the golf ball sized hailstones hit the vehicle, it was like boom. And I've seen a lot of severe thunderstorms. I've never been in a vehicle and hit by hailstones that large, believe it or not. And that's why we had to put the satellite dish down. We were concerned about damage to the dish from the hailstones, combined with winds at 50 to 60 miles an hour. So you can imagine being hit by a piece of ice the size of a golf ball at 50 to 60 miles an hour. So we put the dish down, and think about it, Julie, we probably wouldn't have gotten a signal out anyway, right, because of rain fade. So now the dish obviously is back up,
and the rain,
and we're looking much better here. We'll try to get it. Go ahead.
And the rain was quite heavy. You said it was blowing sideways, which would be similar to something you'd see in a hurricane as well.
Yeah, just like being in a tropical storm or hurricane. The horizontal rain was going from right to left with the winds around to the north. We had the northwest wind, and then as we got the outflow from another storm, the winds came around to the southwest, and then they came back around to the north. So it thankfully is all over with, and at least here in the downtown area, everybody is in pretty good shape.
Mike, we're glad you're okay, and the storm threat has now passed in Oklahoma City, but we're continuing to track the latest severe weather when we come back. Welcome back to the Weather Channel. We are continuing to break into our programming to bring you live coverage of the severe weather outbreak taking place across the plains right now, and we want to take you in now to Sand Springs. This is west of Tulsa, where we know that a mobile home community there was heavily damaged, and we are now getting a report of at least one person confirmed dead as a result of what appears to be a tornado moving through the Sand Springs area. Again, this is west of Tulsa, a mobile home community. Earlier tonight, we did hear of one person being trapped. I know there was search and rescue ongoing there as well, but now getting awaiting word of, unfortunately, one dead as a result of this strong storm. We also know that there was structural damage in the city of Tulsa itself. Numerous reports of trees down, structures damaged. There you see, you know, what appears to be a fire as well. Taking a look now at Tulsa proper, a lot of police activity there. We know that sections of interstates were shut down. Cars flipped over there. I believe this looks like what might have been a gymnasium that was also heavily damaged. Right now, not hearing reports of injuries coming out of Tulsa. However, all of this happened, as you can imagine, within just a short amount of time not long ago, and a lot of response still ongoing at the scene. More Oklahoma, another area hard hit in this evening's storms, and this area no stranger to tornadoes. We just had the EF5 tornado there back in 2013 that killed 24 people. This does not appear to be anywhere near that magnitude. Nonetheless, you can see there a lot of ponding on the streets, structures down, trees down, and certainly widespread power outages. We saw numerous power flashes as these storms came through. And Carl, we were talking about just how unusual that looked, because normally you would see maybe those power flashes localized in an area or two, but they appear to be in a very large area across the entire city.
Yeah, you're talking about a huge area of very strong winds of maybe 80-mile-per-hour winds. And here's a look at that video as we saw it earlier. And again, when we're watching tornadoes, it's not unusual to see those power flashes in a rather small, a rather confined area. That is not at all what you see in this video. You're seeing these power flashes over a huge part of the south side of the Oklahoma City metro, indicating that you've got a very large area of strong winds coming in. And in fact, we were watching on the radar winds of 75, 80 miles per hour just off the ground. So it would not be at all surprising to learn of a larger area of more minor wind damage, and then obviously more significant wind damage with the tornado that actually came into Moore, Oklahoma.
We heard the sirens this evening in Oklahoma City as well, where Mike Seidel was, and we saw the sky literally turn black within a matter of minutes before the sun went down. Yeah,
exactly. It was an incredibly tall thunderstorm full of rain and hail, blocks out the sun almost completely. It literally did turn black. Looked just like night as the storms were coming in, and then after they cleared, we saw the light returning, and that is a surefire sign of a very mean storm. They are really different animals in this part of the country. They're not like the storms that we're used to in a lot of the east. We can get bad thunderstorms in the northeast and the southeast, but they are different in the plains. It's something altogether different out there in the plains. I know you've been out there and covering those storms.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see as well if the tail end of these storms can actually work its way back down toward Dallas this evening. As the evening wanes on, our tornadic threat is going to diminish, but certainly that severe weather threat might hold together.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a front that's driving down and into the southern plains. And in fact, we can show you what's going on with the front and the temperature profile right now. Here's a look at some of those storm reports. These are the tornado reports from Arkansas. There is now a tornado report from just south of Oklahoma City, and we can take a look at what that is. So I believe that's going to be that Moore tornado. Local storm report there from just south of the city, and we saw a really well-defined tornado vortex signature as that storm was coming across Moore. And so it began 6:35 there, ended 6:46, so 11 minutes. Not a very long time, and that's pretty typical. The average length of a tornado in time is 20 minutes, so they are rather fleeting, generally speaking. And there you see in Sand Springs, donut shop destroyed. We're also, of course, watching to see what happens with that mobile home park. We're hearing about a lot of injuries there, unfortunately. So it has been a very scary night.
As well.
And one fatality, as you mentioned, as well. Tornado also in War Eagle, probable rain-wrapped tornado. And actually, we had a look, and I don't know if we can get that video from Tulsa, from west of Tulsa earlier today, of a tornado that was, if not wrapped in rain, at least largely shrouded by rain, and it was not very well defined at all. And that can often be the case. That's a really good reason why you don't want to go outside when you get a tornado warning. You don't want to, I think it's a lot of people's instinct is to run outside and to see what's going on and try to figure out if there's one coming. But oftentimes you cannot see a tornado coming because it will be enshrouded in rain. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the temperature profile and show you what's going on with the front right now. And so here is what has been triggering all this. You've got this warm air coming up from the south. Temperatures made it up into the 80s today. This cold front sliding southward, and the storm's firing right along the intersection of that warm and cold air and also drier air coming in from the southwest. Now, obviously, as you lose the heating of the day, your atmosphere is not going to be as buoyant. Thunderstorms are not going to be likely to rise. You can get tornadoes as you move into the evening hours, but you really need a very dynamic situation in order to get that, and this is not quite that. So,
and we are seeing these storms break apart even more and more within the last, I would say, 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're not as vigorous as they were earlier. They're going to begin to take on more of a linear configuration. That's often the case when you see thunderstorms sort of grouped together. They begin to put out that cool air that we've all felt as the thunderstorm is coming up, and then what the thunderstorms will do is they'll pool that cool air and new storms will fire along the leading edge. That's when it becomes a line of storms, and so we're expecting more of a linear configuration along these fronts. So severe thunderstorm watches now in effect. Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, and then over into the intersection of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, that going until 2 o'clock in the morning. And we've also got a flash flood threat, because you notice the line here is not really moving all that much. You've got thunderstorms that are coming across and moving off to the north and east, but the line itself is only very slowly coming to the south. And look, Julie, at that,
lightning. Wow.
Tremendous lightning. Maybe we could zoom in and query some of that, Sarah. Take a look at some of the lightning here in Oklahoma, which is now for the most part past Oklahoma City. Still maybe the far southern exurbs getting in on some of that. You've got plenty of lightning. I mean, look at that. Right around Tulsa there. Highly electrical storms now just south and east of 44. 300 strikes or nearly so in the last 15 minutes. And keep in mind, folks, even once the threat appears to have passed, once the wind is calming down, rain is calming down, the lightning can still be tremendous in these storms on the backside of the storms. And in fact, that's when a lot of people get struck by lightning.
Because they go out to pick up their property, to check on their vehicles, that kind of thing.
Seems like it's okay at that time.
We're taking a live look now at Tulsa, and we do have some images to show you from earlier this evening out of the Tulsa airport as well, where we know that people were in fact taking shelter. So we'll bring that picture to you right now. And what a chaotic scene I'm sure that was, although the airport a relatively safe place to be. In general, a lot of times tornadoes are used as airports are used as tornado shelters.
Yeah, any of those, you know, bigger, stronger buildings, you know, whether it's schools, that kind of thing. Although, as we have seen, this was actually the case in Moore, Oklahoma in 2013, even schools can be destroyed by the strongest of tornadoes. So there's your ongoing severe weather threat. Still highly electrical storms and a flash flood threat, and wind and hail threat continues. We'll talk much more about this on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel, everyone. We are continuing our special coverage of this severe weather outbreak we know has already produced at least 5 preliminary tornadoes, more than 100 reports of severe weather. You're taking a live look now at the radar out of Bristow. This is southwest of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we still have some heavy rain right now. You'll notice a tremendous amount of lightning also showing up on the radar at this hour. The severe weather threat is starting to diminish a little bit, but we still have flash flooding concerns, lightning concerns, and certainly we are dealing with the aftermath of some of these storms that have blown through and caused significant damage. We have Scott Peak on the phone right now. He is a storm chaser out of Bristow, Oklahoma. And Scott, it's my understanding that you were very close to the Sand Springs tornado west of Tulsa, where we know there's been extensive damage tonight.
Yes, I'm actually out of Norman, Oklahoma. Sorry. The tornado, we intercepted it on Interstate 412 and 77th in Sand Springs, right as it was emerging out of the rain. And we had to make an invasive remover to not get hit by the tornado. So
and describe for us what that looked like. Did it come completely to the ground?
Oh yeah, it was totally on the ground. We couldn't turn around. The interstate had a barrier, so we couldn't turn around. We had to exit, and by that point, the tornado was right next to us, and we had to turn back around and take shelter. And then we didn't get out of the car, but we just got out of the way of it, and then it moved off, and then we followed it into Sand Springs.
And it looks like a rather large tornado. Can you describe how large do you think it was from your vantage point?
It was a large cone tornado, and it was wafting a lot of debris in the air and a lot of power flashes, lots of debris around it.
You know, the mobile home park there we know was heavily damaged, and now we're getting reports of at least one person dead in the area. Were you near that mobile home park? Do you know?
Yes, unfortunately, someone did. We did have a fatality, and we were right next to the tornado after it passed us, and about the time it was doing damage to that mobile home park.
So you've seen the mobile home park itself?
We didn't get to see the mobile home park, but we saw stuff flying in the air after it passed us, and we assumed that it was debris from the mobile home park.
Okay.
So.
Scott, this is Carl Parker. I'm wondering if we can go back and take a look at the video we were looking at moments ago. It looked like you were under a bridge at one point, and the winds got really hairy. Was that the periphery of the tornado, or was that the RFD, do you think?
That was the edge of the tornado that we were taking shelter from. We had no other way to take shelter. We didn't have any other options. There were no buildings nearby we could go into. There was nothing. So that was our last-ditch effort to stay safe from the tornado as it was passing by.
Okay, so this video just came up once again, and we're watching here as the winds, and you can see that there's a circulation there. So, wow, that must have been hairy for a moment for you, huh?
Yes, our ears were popping. Kevin Rolfs, my chasing partner's ears were popping first, and then mine started popping, and then our friend Nicole's ears started popping, and the winds picked up, and the van in front of us started rocking really bad, and then our car started rocking, and that's when we saw debris flying.
And which highway were you on again?
We were underneath 412, and we intercepted the tornado at 412 and 77.
And this looks like a relatively rural area. Were there any sirens?
We could hear them in the background in Sand Springs.
Okay.
So we could hear them. They were going off even when we were heading towards the tornado before you intercepted it. They were going off.
And Scott, we're looking at the structure of this thing. It looks like you've got a fairly large condensation funnel, almost wedge-like or cone-like in shape, and then you've got a pretty wide dust envelope that really spread out at the base there, yes?
Yes, yeah. It wasn't a wedge tornado. We were actually really close to it. We were less than a quarter mile from it, so it made it look like it was a wedge, but it was actually a tall cone tornado from what I could see.
And as you were traveling near this, did you notice it relatively quickly, or was it something you saw from a distance?
It was difficult. It was in the rain.
Yeah,
so we were in the rain, and it started showing its face as it was coming out of the rain momentarily.
And those are the most dangerous, right, Carl? I mean, you don't really see them until they're right on top of you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great example of how, you know, there's a tornado right there in front of Scott. And Scott, we're just looking at this sort of very broad, diffuse area, and to the untrained eye, you might not know that there's a tornado there.
Right.
Right, and a lot of people were still driving down the highway, not knowing what they were about to drive into. So I'm glad I didn't have any fatalities on the highway that I know of. So, but yeah,
Scott Peak, our storm chaser, we're so glad that you're safe, and thanks for your incredible video and that live report. Again, the severe weather threat still exists. We're tracking it for you here on the Weather Channel.
Very scary night in Oklahoma City. We got a tornado in Moore. This is a town that has been hit very hard in the last 16 years. Terrible tornado in 1999 and another terrible tornado in 2013. And there have been smaller tornadoes between those two, and now another one to add to the list of the many storms that have affected Moore. There are the ongoing storms. That severe weather threat is now well past Oklahoma City. Cooler air is coming down from the north. Severe thunderstorm warning for Cleveland, McLean, Pottawatomie counties, and there is a hail threat. Could be some large hail there, golf ball size hail. In addition to that, very heavy rain coming down and plenty of lightning with these storms as they continue to move along to the east.
And Carl, we've seen more than 100 severe weather reports this evening out of Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. Moore, Oklahoma, as you mentioned, hit very hard as well. In fact, we have some incredible video to show you of the power flashes that were taking place there across the city. And we're not talking about just a localized spot here or there, but a very widespread area, which is really not typical. This indicates Obviously, the strength of these storms and the breadth and the width of these storms as well, which we know have caused some damage in Moore. Right now, we want to go to reporter Kristen Shanahan from KFOR. She is on the ground in Moore.
I don't know if you can really see it, but there's a tree over here just flipped over in the yard and busted out windshields, just debris all over the place, trees, pieces of roofs, and actually there's a lot of people out here cleaning up still. Two of those is Shiloh and Leslie here. We've been talking with them. Now, you weren't over here at the time, but your mother lives here.
Right. My mom and dad live here, my little brother.
What did they say?
They were going to go next door to the storm shelter over there. They couldn't make it. So they went ahead and just jumped in a closet and hoped for the best.
Now, you actually were in this tornado, too, but you live, what, a couple blocks away from here?
19th and Eastern, yeah. So we didn't realize that our neighborhood had been hit at the time. As soon as we left to come over here, we had seen the damage, fences gone, stop signs blown over. Absolutely. So whenever we go home tonight, we will see what our neighborhood looks like. My house, it's okay. I mean, a couple things moved, but I'll see the rest of my neighborhood this evening when I get home.
Now, what's some of the damage here that you've seen?
Well, there used to be a carport right here. The tree absolutely is gone. Shingles, I've got wood impaled in the top of the house. Fences, part of the fences are gone in the back. So, I mean, that's really the extent of it. The inside of the house is fine. Structural is fine. Busted windshield, that's pretty much all of it, though. It's not as bad as it could be.
Are you pretty shaken up, though?
No, I mean, I'm okay. I just hope my parents are okay. I know that my mom and brother are here, so I know they're shaking up pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, overall, everything's good.
What about what about you, Leslie? You said you were a little scared when this tornado went through.
Yeah, I've never been through a tornado. Where I'm from, Dewey, Oklahoma, they just don't really have them. So I heard the whistle and hearing all the stuff and then seeing the aftermath was crazy and definitely had me shaking a little bit.
Now, where did you take cover?
We took cover in the closet of our house, kind of just randomly. We just decided to go in there.
And how long do you guys plan to stay out here tonight and clean up?
Until his parents are ready to come to our house and stay. So we'll be here quite a while, I think, which is good.
And no one hurt, no one injured that you know of?
No one that I know is. I mean, no one that I know of. Everyone's good.
Okay, well, thank you both so much for talking to us and sharing your story. All right, well, back to you.
All right, certainly a scary situation. Nothing quite like what we saw in 2013, fortunately, with the 5 that came through Moore, Oklahoma and killed 24 people. Yeah. But this is no area that is a stranger to tornadoes coming through. And she mentioned the storm shelters and the fact that people, this is pretty common for them to go down.
And a lot of people got those storm shelters after the Moore tornado, and I believe they had a state lottery to get them at a reduced rate because they're not cheap. They can cost a few $1,000s or more. But boy, if I lived in Oklahoma, I would really think seriously about investing in one of those because the tornadoes can be so bad. Now, here is video from the Sand Springs tornado, and this is when Scott Peak and his team were under a bridge. The periphery of the tornado is hitting them at this time. You see how the cars are sort of dancing around in that strong wind there, and you can sort of make out a circulation. Certainly you see that there is debris in the air, so a very close call for Scott Peak and his chase team, and they also have some video of the tornado from a greater distance. So right there, that great big V-shaped area, that's the bottom of the tornado. Then you see where there's a dark area that's sort of spreading out. That's called the dust envelope. That's the bottom edge of the tornado where dust is being drawn into that circulation, and you can see the pieces of it clearly when you're up close, but when you're farther away, it looks sort of amorphous. And that's a really good example of how a tornado can be on you. It can be moving right in, and you don't really see that it's a tornado. It doesn't necessarily look like a well-defined tornado as we often think of them. In fact, right there you see that there's a condensation funnel that's not actually reaching the ground because the air was not quite moist enough or the tornado was not quite strong enough for that to occur. But obviously that's the impact, Julie, and quite a bit of wind there. And this is just the outside edge of the tornado. That's not actually being hit directly by the tornado.
And we do know not far from there, a mobile home community hit very hard. At least one person lost their life this evening. We have reports of injuries as well. And Scott, we just talked with Scott, and he attested to exactly what you said. They had to get under that bridge because that tornado was right up on them. Even though these are trained storm chasers and they look for these kinds of things, it just indicates that this is something that someone who doesn't have that kind of training would have no idea this is coming.
Yeah, you know, and that's probably not a bad idea to get away from hail, but I do want to point out that, you know, there was a video that was very popular from 1991 where people got underneath a bridge, and there was a reporter who said, get up under the girders, and people started doing that, and then we realized that that was actually not a very safe place to be, because even though bridges are really sturdy, people can't manage to hold on underneath the bridge when the wind is that strong, and the wind is actually stronger because it's up off the ground a little way. So that is actually not the preferred place to get underneath a bridge. If you were to do that and you survived, it'd probably be because, you know, like in this case, you're on the outside edge of the tornado, not being hit directly by the storm.
And in this case, he was on Highway 412, but we also know that Highway 35, which leads into Oklahoma City, also shut down in both directions. We've seen images of cars and trucks flipped over on the roads. I think that that is certainly one of the most dangerous and frightening places to be, is trapped inside of traffic when a tornado is upon you like that, and you can't go anywhere.
That is the nightmare scenario, Julie, and there have actually been some studies that have come out that have talked about the idea of there possibly being hundreds or even thousands of fatalities in a situation where you've got